He's my all in all. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. When I was sick and couldn't get well, he's been my doctor. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. He's been my lawyer. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. He's been a way out of no way. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. He's been my all in all. The way may get hard, my way may be rough, but I'm so glad, I'm so glad, I'm so glad, I'm so glad that he brought me from a mighty long way. Yes, he brought me through the wilderness, and I can see the promise ahead. Every now and then I may get tired. Every now and then I might get thirsty. Every now and then I may even get hungry. But all praise be to God. If I keep on keeping on, I'm gonna get to the promised land. There's a test in the wilderness, but I thank God that he gives me opportunity to pass the test. He's preparing me for what he has for me. He's preparing you for what he has for you. He's preparing us for what he has for us. And I don't know about you, but I thank God for where he's brought me from, because he's brought me from a mighty long way. The wilderness test. It's nothing but a test. But if we're going to get to God's promise, you've got to pass the test. You've got to hang on in there. You've got to hang on a little while longer. There's some folk will tell you that you can't hold on. There's some folk that will tell you you're not going to make it. And there are even some folk that are praying that you don't make it. But I thank God for my test. I thank God for my trial. I thank God for the rain. I thank God for the pain. I thank God for all that I face, because I know that after a while and by, I can see the prize. I can see the promise. And all of a sudden, the test don't seem like much. I can see the trickery of the enemy. I feel the pain. I feel the burden. But I thank God I can see the prize. I can see the promise in front of me. Though my way may get hard, though my way may get rough, though my way may have obstacles and stumbling blocks standing in the way, I see the prize that lies ahead. I see what God has in store for me. I see what God is going to do on my behalf. I see what God has for me. And what we need to realize is that what God has for you is for you. What God has for me is for me. All the demons in hell can't keep you away from it. All the demons in hell can't keep it away from you. I stop by to declare that God has made a way out of no way. Is there anybody here that loves my Jesus? Is there anybody here that loves the Lord? Is there anybody here that knows my Jesus? Is there anybody here that knows he's brought us from a mighty long way? God is a good God. He's an on-time God. Folk can say what they want to say. I've tried everything I know to try. But I thank God that can't nobody, I said can't nobody do me like Jesus. Can't nobody help me like Jesus. Can't nobody comfort me like Jesus. Can't nobody do me like the Lord, because he's my friend. Yes, the wilderness is but a test. And we have to realize that in life, you're going to be tested. But I'm not so worried about the wilderness, because as long as I've got the Lord, I know that everything is going to be all right. I said everything's going to be all right as long as I've got the Lord. Some folk would rather have silver and some folk would rather have gold. But I say, give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. Because he's everything that I need. Do I have a witness? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Does anybody know that he'll make a way out of no way? He'll make crooked things straight. He'll make rough things smooth. He'll make a way out of no way. I might be in the wilderness, but I thank God that after a while and by, everything is going to be all right. Do I have a witness? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Weeping may endure for a night, but joy, oh joy, I said joy, oh joy is going to come in the morning. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. The wilderness is but a test. And you might be going through the wilderness right now, but all of us are going through that same wilderness. What I'm feeling may not be the same thing that you're feeling, but we're all in it together. We're going through the wilderness right now. And while we're in the wilderness, things may not be working out the way we want them to work out. People act funny in the wilderness. People deny God in the wilderness. And if you're not careful while you're in the wilderness, some folk will even discourage you while you're in the wilderness. That's why the children of Israel took a 3-day journey that turned into 40 years because of the wilderness. But God got those hearts right that were ready to go into the promised land. You can't tell me that God doesn't work in the wilderness. He'll make a way in the wilderness. He'll give you rivers of sweet water to drink, and he'll move bitterness out of our way. Does somebody know what I'm talking about? God will make a way out of no way. He's made a way for somebody who's been going through the wilderness. You're not in the wilderness by yourself. Every believer, every Christian has to go that way in order that we can get to God's promise. Don't you buy into all of this hunky-dory prosperity. There ain't nothing going to ever come against you. Nothing's going to happen to you. Just by virtue of being a child of God. The enemy's going to try to come against you. And if the enemy's going to try to come against you, then we need to prepare our hearts for what lies ahead. The minute we give our heart to him, we have to journey through the wilderness. Some of us want safe passage. God's going to give us safe passage. But he's not telling us that we're not going to have some ups and downs while we're going through. There are going to be highs and lows while we're going through. But you've got to stay on the road and realize that the promise lies ahead. Now, if we really read and study our Bible, then we come to understand that some folk had to die out there in the wilderness. They didn't make it to the promised land. And you know, God ain't going to force anything on anybody in here. You can die in the wilderness and never receive the promise. But that's not his intent. He wants us to make it through. You can't make it through with bitterness in your heart. Mara was the first test. And that's why God brought them to Mara. The bitter water was to remind them of their bitterness when all they could do was murmur and complain. And you know, sometimes God has to allow us to have a bitter moment in order to show us who we are. You know, the thing that troubles me the most right now, is that we as a people, we can't get past these little small things to get where God wants us to go. but we're on our way anyhow.